Hello, my name is Ben Papia, and I am doing an information speech on the book and film Watership Down. Start with a little bit of background and introduction. It was originally published in 1972 by author Richard Adams, um, and that was after a couple years after his daughters actually encouraged him and kept pestering him to publish the story, because it originally was written as just a story that him and his daughters kind of made up as they were taking several car trips. I believe in an interview he once said that he started the story while they were driving to Stratford-upon-Avon from their London home. Um, However, since its publication in 1972, it's become a worldwide phenomenon. Several movie was filmed after it. A lot of people have written essays and articles about this book, and a lot of information about it. Partially because it's such a unique adaptation to our own world, and even parallel to our own society as well. Some of the social impacts that involve from this novel. This was kind of seen very similar to Chronicles of Narnia and even Lord of the Rings, as Richard Adams writing about his experiences in World War II and what he saw and dealt with there. The internment camps that he witnessed is a parallel to the Warren of Ephrata that's seen within the novel and the film. It's run in a police-like state, and which is kind of seen as a direct parallel to Stalinist Russia, and even the fact that within Ephrata they have to be marked. They are physically maimed and marked and put in separate categories, like right shoulder or rear flank, very similar to how Adolf Hitler marked those in his internment camps. The Jews, the homosexuals, the blacks, so on and so forth. I mean, as a matter of fact, the leader of this Warren of Ephrata is called General Woundwort, which with a militaristic name, is a great parallel to totalitarianism, Comrade Stalin or General Hitler or even Führer Hitler. And even on a lighter term, the picture here we have is a picture of Kiar the seagull, which was based off of a Norwegian pilot that Adams served with during his time. So this is just some of the why it's Mirror Society, just based on his experiences during World War II and what he dealt with and saw there. Some of the other social impacts that evolved from this novel. There's a man versus nature argument. Adams approaches this in a unique way. Rabbits are seen not only as a parallel to the Englishman and every man of our own society, but they're also seen as victims of humans themselves. How the story kind of begins is a picture right here is a picture of a young rabbit named Fiver. He has this vision of man destroying their warren, which is how the story kind of begins and how the plot takes place. And as it turns out, it is destroyed and taken over for developmental use, which is quite a shame. So Adams not only uses rabbits as a representation for humanity and its desire for machines and industrialism and even totalitarianism, he even uses rabbits as an example of our own self-destructive tendencies and how we destroy nature to get what we want. Adams made this statement in his novel by saying, "Man will never rest until he has spoiled the earth and killed the animals." That's a very huge statement. And not only in terms of, if you view the rabbits as an everyman character, as men and representation of men as an allegory here, it's just saying that our own greed and desires and our enemies will not stop. And then if you see the rabbits as a victim of man's own desires and corruptions, that is just a further sign that we need to be careful how far we go with our industry and production, which is what Adams talked about. Now, another thing that sprung from this is animal literature. Now, we all are familiar with the novel Animal Farm, which was a brilliant work in itself that talks about Stalinist Russia and against the Stalinist regime. But that was pure allegory. And while it is an amazing work itself, what Richard Adams here created was a different form of animal literature, opened up for more fictional aspects and even for other versions of other allegories. Posed in the same vein, one is the novel Firebringer by David Clement Davies, which actually Richard Adams read and commented on how great it was. And this is another one of those political allegories and representations of society and man. And then we also get the Redwall series by Brian Jakes, which is more of a children's friendly animal novel, but it's also another one of those comparisons to our own society, very similar to Animal Farm by George Orwell. Certain characters represent things. Rats represent the evil in society. Mice represent the good in society. and so on and so forth. But and this is the surge of these animal novels kind of started towards the late 80s, early 90s, and have been increasingly published other great animal and fictional forms, such as Foxes at First Dark by John Kilworth, and all these other great ones started because of these. And I personally think it is because of Watership Down's popularity and how it took over to create this new kind of sort of a subgenre of literature itself. Some of the impact today that 8 years after its publication of a book, it was created into a film by Martin Rosen. The images that you see here in this presentation are taken from the film. Here's Fiver's younger picture, and the older rabbit is his brother Hazel, two of the protagonists. This is one of the best films of the 20th century, is regarded by a lot of people. One of the top 100 animated films. British Society, or some British filmmakers say it's one of the most influential best films. It's actually being adapted into a new CGI film in, I believe, 2018 is when we're going to see it. But that is a lot of people are afraid that won't live up to the hype and the originality of the film, which is interesting because I've been reading a lot of articles about it, and they're not arguing against the book being adapted well. They're arguing that it could be better than the original film, which is very interesting. Further in the impact today, producer and director Guillermo del Toro, who wrote Pan's Labyrinth, did some of the Hellboy movies, and was even an artistic director for the Hobbit franchise, said that the novel Watership Down was extremely influential and important to him. In a YouTube video that was uploaded, he says, and I quote, what was really powerful for me in Watership Down is that it was not trying to just mirror social political concerns. It was creating a world with social political concerns. And that's huge for any form of creative writing, film and directing, if you want to create your own world. You see that Watership Down, unlike Animal Farm by George Orwell, which just mirrors society, Watership Down created its own turmoil, its own society, its own issues. That's why we can see, the General Woundwort character that I mentioned earlier. There's two direct parallels, Stalinist and Hitler, versus just Animal Farm, where we have the character Napoleon, which is a clear representative of just Stalinism. And that's just a huge impact that this director thought was amazing, and other authors and writers and even filmmakers have, even literary scholars have agreed this is one of the most influential novels and a unique aspect, which is one of the reasons why this book and film are so powerful. In conclusion, since publication, the novel has reached in book and film form all sorts of areas in society. I believe that anyone can relate to this film. Regardless of where you are in life, you can relate some way, shape, or form. You can relate to being, if you're a young, when I first read this when I was in 8th grade, and I related to the character Fiber a lot because he was a young social outcast who tried to get up in the world and had to use his big brother to help him out. Well, and I could relate to that very much, using my friends to help me get through this. When I was in my late teen years and I reread it, I related more to the character of Bigwig, the fighter trying to fight your way through society, improve yourself and your worth. And recently I reread this, which is part of the reason I did this presentation on it. I related more to the character of Hazel, which is the leader, just trying to find your own way in the world, trying to prove you can lead and what you can do and everything. So this is just a mirror of society, which is great, because also an allegory, which I personally love allegory tales, so I think this is awesome. Here are my references as I wrap things up. I really hope that you enjoyed this presentation, and thanks again for watching, and I hope you have a great day.